This is our family history topic of Introduction to Newspapers.com. So I was talking earlier, really excited to share this resource because I'm the South Carolina supervisor in the South Carolina room, and I use this all the time. So I think it's a really fun resource, and I'm happy to share it with everybody. And as always, if you're interested in any more of these virtual events, please check out our events page on our website, or you can sign up for our e-newsletter to stay informed. And so welcome everyone. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please just type them in the chat box. We'll have time at the end to get to all the questions. And then there's also going to be a link to the handout in the chat if you haven't already seen that, so you can have that. If I will ask if you can mute yourself during the presentation. That'll help us so we just don't have any like feedback in the background and things like that. And then of course at the end we'll unmute and we'll get to chat a little bit. So as I mentioned, I'm Shanna, I'm the South Carolina room supervisor, and I'll be doing the presentation today. And we also have Rachel, and she will be moderating and helping me answer things in the chat. And she's our adult outreach and event coordinator here. All right. So actually, before we get started with our class goals, I did want to do a little poll. So I'm going to share that now. So this is just a really quick poll. It's, have you ever used the newspapers.com resource before? And it's just yes or no. And this class is great if you've already used it. Hopefully we can cover a few things a little bit more in depth. If you've never used it, that's great too. So either way is great. I just kind of like to get an idea of who all has already utilized this resource before. So we're kind of about half and half right now, a little bit more on the people who haven't used it. We have 57% who haven't used it before and about 43 who have. So thank you so much for answering that. And I'll go ahead and share the results with everybody. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started here with our class goals. So today, what I hope to accomplish during this time with you is that first and foremost, we'll discover how you can access newspapers.com library edition. And this will be whether you're at the library, which we're with the Greenville County Library System in Greenville, South Carolina. You can access this database at any of our branch locations. You can bring your own device in and connect, or you can get on our public computers. And then you can also access this database from home with your library card. So I'll go over that, how to do that in just a minute. And it's also covered in your handout if you ever want to refer back to it. Then we're going to just learn about some of the different search methods that you can do, because there's a few different ways you can search on newspapers.com. I'm going to actually do a large part of this is going to be a demo that you can feel free to follow along and go along with me and do your own searches, or you can just sit back and watch either way. And then we also are going to explore how you can actually save information that you find or share it with others with the actual library edition here. And then I do want to discuss some of the differences between the newspapers.com library edition that we're using versus an actual newspapers.com paid membership. So before we actually kind of get into our demo and searching, I do want to cover a little bit of that about how is newspapers.com library edition different from a subscription that you can get with newspapers.com. And so the biggest difference is that the library edition is free. So that's awesome that you don't have to pay anything for it. Like I said, we'll go over how you can access it from home as well. So that's a nice perk. The membership charge right now, I think this is based on when I looked at it back in February. It was around $75 for 6 months of a newspapers.com subscription. And so, yeah, that can get pretty expensive. In the library edition, you have close to, it's actually, I put over 18,000, close to 19,000 at this point, because they're always adding new things. And then the newspapers.com paid subscription, you get like 20,000 newspapers One thing that I do want to mention, because we get asked about this a lot, is the library edition does not currently include the Greenville News. That's kind of a bummer because, being in Greenville, that's one of the big papers. The paid version does include it. I will say though, sometimes we get asked why. A lot of that has to do with copyright and the publisher's agreement with newspapers.com and what's allowed to be on the library edition versus what's allowed to be on the paid subscription. So at this time, right now, it's only available on the paid subscription. But that being said, we still have a lot of newspapers from South Carolina. If you're very interested in South Carolina, we have 94 papers. I just checked yesterday, and I was telling Rachel and the others before the class that they actually have added to this, because when I originally kind of put together this presentation and was working on it in February, there was 90 papers, and they've already added a few more. And then the paid version, you get a little bit more. There's about 101 papers from South Carolina, but like I said, they're adding to this all the time. So it's always good to check back and see what's been added. But the great thing is, library edition, you still have access to quite a lot. So what we'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and start our demo and show everyone how we can get to accessing newspapers.com. So the first thing you'll want to do is you do need to go to our website, greenvillelibrary.org. And once you kind of see our homepage, now I am on a laptop, so it may look different if you're on an iPad or a phone. You'll probably have a smaller screen and everything, but you'll want to navigate to learning and research area, which on my laptop is this top section in blue. And then you'll want to go to the genealogy and local history section, which on my laptop is to the right here. And as I just scroll down, there's a section called Research Your Family Tree. So if you click on Research Your Family Tree, this gets you to a list of all of our genealogy and local history databases and their alphabetical order. So if you scroll down, you can find newspapers.com. It's kind of down towards the middle here, and you'll click on it. I've actually already signed into mine, but if you're at home, what will happen is you'll actually get a page that asks you for your library card and your PIN number. And your PIN number is usually the last 4 digits of your phone number unless you've changed it. So you can try putting that in. If for some reason you're not able to get in or you're having issues, you can always call your branch location or stop by and they can take a look at your card, because cards do need to be renewed every couple years. So there may be a chance that maybe your card has expired and needs to be renewed or something, or maybe it's not the correct PIN that you're entering. So they can help you out with that if you're having any trouble. But hopefully you can get logged in here, whether you're, in the library or at home. And you should see something that looks very similar to this. Now, I mentioned I'm already signed in. Up here, you can see there's a way that you can create an account. If you're not already signed in, it'll ask you to sign in or register. And it is free to do so. So if you're doing this account this way, it will not ask you for a payment. If you see payment, it's not the library edition, and that is not what we're talking about. This is a free version where you can sign in. And basically you just need to put in like an email or a password. And if you wanted to, you can actually sign in with your Ancestry account if you already have an Ancestry account there. That is optional. You don't have to create an account to use this, but I'll show you later. There's a few additional features that you can access if you are signed in to an account. So I've already signed in with our department account here, but you'll see the main thing on this page is at the very top, we have our search area. And so I want to start with that because it's just kind of one of the easiest ways to get started. And before I do that, though, I just wanted to mention a few other things on this page. If you want any additional tutorials or specifics, there is a little get started section to your right here where you can learn all the ins and outs, and you can come back and watch a video if you'd like to learn more. But to get started, there's a few different fields that we can search by. The first one you'll see is keyword, and then you could also optionally, you can search by date or you can search by location. So you don't have to fill all of these in, you can just do one. And let's say I'm doing research. And I think this is the one thing I like about newspapers.com is it's great for genealogy because maybe you're wanting to research, find an obituary for a family member or birth announcement or marriage or something like that. But it's also great for local history research and historical topics over time. So let's say I was doing research on Amelia Earhart, and I could just type in her name, and what you'll see, it's asking me, it kind of popped up and said, would you like to basically search with quotations around her name? And that what that means is it's actually going to only search when her name appears together. So without the quotations, it may give me an article that mentions someone named Amelia, let's say Amelia Smith, and then maybe there's a David Earhart in the article too. And so it may show that as a match because I don't have the quotations around, and it doesn't know that it only needs to search for exactly Amelia Earhart. So if I click on this, it's going to add those quotations for me. And basically that's going to help narrow things down for me. So sometimes if I'm searching for like a specific name, I like to put the quotations around because that will kind of help refine things. But occasionally I won't do the quotations just because I don't want to miss anything, especially if they have like a middle name. Maybe I'm not sure if the middle name is going to be included in a news article. So maybe I just want to search without quotations, but that's what that means, is that now it's going to search for exactly Amelia Earhart. I'm not going to put a date in right now or a location. All I'm going to do is just click on the search button. And that's it, really, it's so easy. It just comes right up with all the results from any match with Amelia Earhart in any of the papers that are in this database. And we've got close to 90,000 matches. And of course, that's a lot for one person to go through. So what we may want to do is start kind of refining these down. So one thing you could do is you could go up here, you could start adding a date range. Like I could say 1930 to 1940, I could do that. I could add a location. I could say anytime I want to look at articles from South Carolina that mention Amelia Earhart, and I could click on that. And then I would find those. I can take those off. Let's say I don't want to do the date filter anymore. You just click the little X and now it's searching again just for all matches on this database that mention Amelia Earhart. I do want to mention a couple of things. As you go down below this search bar here, you'll see result type. And I think this is pretty helpful if you're doing some family history research, because right now I'm seeing all types of articles that mention Amelia Earhart. They also have the option where you can just view obituaries that mention her or marriages. So let's just see what that might look like. If I click on obituaries, and I think this one actually is one for Amelia Earhart's mother's obituary. So you'll see that that's kind of an option, is now it's showing me things that newspapers.com believes are just obituaries. I'm going to go back to all types, but you can see how that might be helpful. Now, I don't know if they always catch everything. So a lot of times I'll like to do like a broad and make it all types, since that's the default. And then if it's just so many results, I may refine it down and say, oh, I just want to see obituaries. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for and how many matches you have, and if you want to refine things. Right here, when I click on newspaper, this will allow me to enter a specific name of a paper, or I can view all of the different papers in this database that this search term appears in. You'll notice that there's a sort, and it defaults to best match. So it's trying to find what is most relevant to my keyword search right now. But I could change to have the newest paper first, or the oldest paper that's in the database come first, or the date added. And if we go to more filters, I can change a couple of things here. This is kind of helpful where it says added in the past. I can say 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, year, where it defaults to any time. This could be helpful if I've already been on the newspapers.com database and I've been doing research on Amelia Earhart, and maybe I want to see what has been added in the last month, and it's been a few months since I last looked. This will help me see if anything new has been added, which is pretty helpful. You can also refine to only have things from certain days of the week. And then you can also exclude it from showing you anything related to marriages or obituaries. So those are just a couple of the additional filters. And then on the right-hand side here, this is kind of more what I would call a visual filter. So if you're more visual, you could go over here and instead of typing in a location, let's say you can just click on the map and you can choose a location that way. And it'll only show you papers from, say, South Carolina or, California or something like that. And then over here, we have our dates, and you can actually use the slider and you can see visually when most of the articles appear, which is kind of when it's expected because her plane went missing in 1937. So there's a lot of articles from that time span. But you can kind of click and drag, and then you'll see at the top, as I'm clicking and dragging this, it's going from a span of 1927 to 1942. So I'm only seeing articles from that time span. What you can do also is you can refine it by decade. So let's say I wanted to just look at 1930s. I can click on 1930s, and then it will show me only papers that mention her from the 1930s. And if I wanted to even refine further, I could say, I know her plane went missing in 1937. I just want to see what's from 1937. So I can do that. And now I'm just seeing the ones from 1937. So let's try looking at one of these papers. I'm going to click on this one from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. Okay, and this is about when her plane, it's a day after her plane went missing. So what I can do here is, first of all, there's a few controls that you have that you can utilize. And usually we'll zoom in, you'll notice it zoomed in right at the top because in the headline it says Amelia Earhart, which is the term that I searched. But if I wanted to view the whole page, I could use my tools over here. There's a plus and minus sign. And if I click the minus sign, I can even zoom out and see more of the page. With my mouse, I can click and just drag, and I can see further down. And then I can go back up. So that's just a quick tool that I can use. Now, there's also a little drop-down menu right next to the zoom and zoom out tool. And I can also, if I needed to, if for some reason this was scanned in originally and it was really dark or it was really bright, this little circle here will adjust my brightness and contrast. So if I drag it to the left, you'll see it gets a lot darker. And the contrast, you can play around with that. If you want to have a little bit more contrast, there's also an invert option, and that will actually make it to where it's white text on a black background. If you think, I want it to just go back to the way it was, you can hit reset and it will go straight back to the way it was originally. Over here, you have the tool you can rotate if you needed to. You can view it in full screen. And if you had any problems, you could report a problem here. So that's just a couple of the basic tools. What we'll do now is kind of look up here where you'll see that I have 1 of 11 matches. What this is showing me is basically where on this page that the term that I searched for, Amelia Earhart, appears. So I can just click through these and see all of them. So I can see anything on this page that mentions it. I could also search for other terms too. Like I could search for flight and see how many matches those have. So you can search for different terms and it'll show you where they are on the page. So that's kind of helpful. Okay. So let's say I found one of these articles and I want to save it. So that's really easy to do as well. So I will get into how to kind of clip things and what that means a little later, and how to share and saving to Ancestry. But right now, you can print and save, and you don't have to be signed into an account like I mentioned before. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and show that. So if I hit print or save, what it's going to ask me to do is it's asking, do I want to save or print the entire page, or do I want to select a portion? Now, keep in mind, if you are printing and you have an 8.5 by 11 size paper, it will shrink it down to fit on that size paper, and it's probably going to be really, really small and hard to read. If you save it, you can zoom in and things like that. But if you're printing, a lot of times I'll select a portion. So I want to print. So let's say I just wanted to save just this photo here that's in the paper. All you have to do is kind of click and drag and isolate that area that you want. And you just make sure everything's good the way you want it. And then I can say print. If I have a printer connected, it'll go there, or I can say save. And when I go to save, there's two options. And so a little bit of a difference between the two. If you save it as a JPEG, it's not going to include any of the source information on the actual image. It's not going to say what paper it came from or what date or anything like that. If you click save a PDF, in the actual PDF image, it will show you that it came from newspapers.com and that it's from a certain paper and what date it's from. So that can be helpful if you are, hopefully if you're doing genealogy or local history, you're citing your sources. So that can be helpful if you need to refer back on where you actually found that, you can have that information all in your PDF. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to actually go back to the home page. So all you need to do that is you can just click on Archive Home if you're following along, and this will get you back to the home page. And so what I wanted to do is kind of just show you another way that you could search. And that could be that maybe you're wanting to search by date. What we could do is, like, let's say there's a date in history that you're researching. Let's say I'm researching D-Day. I can actually just type in D-Day on June 6, 1944. And you can type it in almost, you can type it in the way I'm typing it like this. You can spell it out. When you actually go to search, if we just search by that, it formats it for you. But then it'll show you matches from papers that are on that specific date. So all of these are from June 6, 1944. And let's say this is one that's interesting to me. I'm going to click on it. Once again, we go to the paper and we see at the top, this is a June 6 paper from Washington. And now I want to talk a little bit about how, if you have an account, which you can see at the top right here, that it says I'm a registered account, that I can have some additional features here that when I'm signed in, I can access. So one of those features is the clipping tool. So let's say I wanted to clip this article here. And what does it actually mean to clip? So when you clip and you have your account, you're signed in, it's basically going to save whatever you've clipped for later. And instead of like saving to your computer or being able to print so you have it, this is just, you have to be logged in to the your newspapers.com account here to access it. But you can save that for later and come back to it. So I know a lot of people like to utilize this tool. It doesn't take up any space, like when you download something, the file does take up space. So if you're wanting to save some space or you're wanting to have everything all in one place in your account, that's one way you can do it. So once again, it's the same thing. You kind of isolate the article that you want, and then you can actually add some details. So sometimes I'll just put, maybe the title of the article. I may put a little bit more information that'll help me know what I have clipped for later. You can even add more details. If you wanted to add a really nice description, you can do up to 500 characters. If you click down here on this little gear shaped tool, you'll notice some things here. So the first thing is that when you clip something, the default is that it's going to be public, meaning that anybody who's searching on newspapers.com can see that you've clipped it. If you don't want that and you want to keep that private for some reason, then all you have to do is just make sure you unclick that and it will no longer be public on the database. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. When you go ahead and click on clip, you'll see that it shows that it's been saved by me and what day I saved it. And then you see my title I created. You have a few other options. So I can view this clipping, and then you'll have a share option, which this is really neat because if you want to share this with a family member or a friend, you can do that just by clicking on your clipping there and share, and you can go to email and type in their email, or you can share on social media. And the neat thing about it is they don't have to have a newspapers.com account or even like have access to the library edition. They will let them view it without having to sign in or anything like that. So that's really neat that you can do that. So that's how to share. And then this little green leaf here, this is if you'd like to share to Ancestry. Now, when you click on that, you'll see that it's asking me now to sign in with my Ancestry account. So if I had an Ancestry account already, I can sign in and it will allow me to save it to Ancestry. I will mention, I was trying this out again yesterday. I was having a few issues for some reason of getting it to save correctly, but in the past it's worked fine. So if it doesn't work right now, come back and try later. But you do have to sign in to your Ancestry account in order to utilize that feature. Okay, so I'm just going to click out of here. Actually, I'll show you how to do this. So let's say maybe I'm like, hey, that's not something I really wanted to clip. I don't really need that anymore. If you go to edit, there's a little trash bin here and I can just delete it and it'll say, okay, it's going to completely remove my clipping, and you click delete and it's gone. So that's how to use the clipping feature. You'll notice up here, you have the share option as well. So just like if you were, we showed you that on the clipping, you can click share up there and then isolate what you want to share and then do it that way. And you also have your save to Ancestry button up here as well. So there's a few different ways that you can kind of access the same tool. So just wanted to show you a couple of things right there. And now let's go back to our archive page, archive home here. And we are going to try a couple of different searches. So the next one I want to show is kind of the one that's right next to the search tool, and it's called Find by Location. So let's try that out. So if I click on that,
Location.
I'm not sure what this is. It's about
you'll see that there is it's a browse, and it has a list of countries and states. And then you can select there. If you're more visual, you can always try the map and search by location and click on the map. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the browse feature, and we're going to isolate to a certain location. So it's defaulting to United States. And what we'll do is we'll go down and we'll do one for South Carolina. So South Carolina. And as I mentioned, we don't have the Greenville News on the library edition, but we do have another Greenville paper. So I do want to show you that. If we click on Greenville, you'll see the Greenville Enterprise is available for us to view. And we have 17 different years that we can view. So if I wanted to view 1872, then you'll see that I have different months that I can view. Let's say I want to view December, and then this will show me the available editions from that month. And so I'll go to, let's do Christmas Day in 1872, and then I can select the pages. So that's just how you can do it with the browsing. So now that I'm here, you'll see we're on the main front page of the Greenville Enterprise. And I can scroll down, I can use my zoom in and out tools. You can see that it's pretty tiny text, so I may have to zoom in quite a bit so I can read it. If I click down here, you'll notice at the bottom, I want to mention this is showing me I'm on page 1. If I use the little arrows, it will take me to the next page. I can also click on the film strip and I can go to pages that way as well. We're over here. So we're at the very end of the 1872 editions, but I could even jump back to the previous edition from December 18th. I can easily click on that and it'll take me to a different edition. So that's a quick way to do it. There's also another way that I kind of call like the breadcrumbs way to go back and easily select a different edition of this same paper. So you'll notice at the top, we have the title, the Greenville Enterprise, which is the paper we're looking at. We have the date we're viewing and the page. If I click on the date, it's going to give me the option to select a different date from December of 1872. I can select a different page from here. I can also start clicking this back arrow and I'll continue to go back to where I can select a different month. Let's say I wanted maybe January instead. And then it'll show me all the editions available for January. I can go back even more. I can choose a different year. Let's say I want 1854. Then I can choose a month from 1854. And then the edition, and you can just keep going back. You can even go back even more to where you can choose a different city, you can choose a different state. So these are kind of like our little breadcrumbs here. And this is all at the top where you can just kind of easily change some of your searching and browsing here. Different years, different paper, different city. It's just an easy way to do that. So we're going to go ahead and close out of that. What we'll do now is I want to go back to the archive homepage. So we've kind of covered our basic search, which you can find on the front page here is how to basic search. We've done a find by location. Now let's take a look at the papers feature if we want to search by paper. And this is something that when I'm working in the South Carolina room, a lot of times someone will have a question about a specific paper, or maybe they even know the specific date it appeared in the paper, or sometimes I'm looking for a specific paper. And this is what I prefer to use. There's different ways, of course, you could get to this by browsing and things like that. But when you select papers, you're really searching by, by a specific paper, and it helps narrow it down really quickly. So one thing I could do is I could just type in on the left-hand side the title or keyword of the paper, and it will show me the matches that come up. You can even search, once again, this is kind of going back to the browse. I can select a specific state, and let's say I do South Carolina. I can see there's 94 papers for South Carolina. So I could, definitely scroll down and look through all these. But if I had like a particular title that I knew that I wanted to look up, I could go ahead and type it in. So let's say I wanted to look at the Laurens Advertiser. As soon as I start typing Laurens, I've already got it refined down to the state of South Carolina. It's showing me the Laurens Advertiser right away. I don't even have to type in the whole title there. And so that's the paper I want. I can click on that. And you'll notice when you get to and you click on the paper, you get to this page and you can see some sample pages here. You can see at the top, what is the date range that it's covered. So that will easily tell you that, if I was looking for an article from the Laurens Advertiser in 1930, this is not going to be on newspapers.com because this only goes from 1885 through 1922. So that's kind of a quick way to see that. You can also see that other people have done some recent clippings and they show up here. So if you want to see what other people have viewed and clipped, you can do that. You can look at nearby papers. There's a little map on your left. You can browse by date. I use this feature quite a bit. What I do is I'll go down and select a specific date. And a lot of times when I'm doing some research, a lot of times maybe there's something like in a book. A lot of times it'll reference something in their citation, say, oh, it appeared in the Lawrence Advertiser in 1922, and it was in December, and it was on December, let's see, 20th. And so I can go to this little calendar here and I can choose that exact date. And then I have the Lawrence Advertiser, and it just takes me to page 1. And then I can go ahead and look through each page, or I can even do my find tool if I'm looking for a specific term like crops, if I'm searching like something like that. And you'll see that it takes me to exactly on the page where that is. So if you're looking for a specific paper, I really like going to the papers section, and doing it that way is really quick and easy that I've found. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page again. And the last thing I'm going to kind of show you today in the newspapers.com is the actual clippings section. So that's right at the top. It's our last section on here. And if we click on clippings, you'll see that staff have clipped quite a bit already. We've got 344 clippings. So that can be a lot to sort through if you have a lot of clippings. So what you can do, you can actually sort your clippings. You can do it by date, and you can search by specific years. You can also refine and just do by location. So we can easily see, of course, South Carolina is the main state that has been clipped, but you can see what other states where articles have been clipped from. You can even choose the specific paper and only show things that have been clipped from certain papers. You can sort, like, let's say I know that it was something that I clipped a long time ago. I can actually have the oldest clippings show up at the top. The default, it's going to show you the most recent clippings. You can even do it by the paper date or the paper oldest. You can also sort it by if it's an obituary or a marriage. So let's say I know I clipped an obituary, and I could just click on that. We only have 5, so it'll show me those 5, and they'll be really easy to find. You can also go up here to your right, and you can search your clippings by your own keyword terms, and then it will show you which clipping match those terms, so you can easily find them. If you click on all clippings, it might take it a second to load. Okay, there we go. So this is just all clippings that anybody has added from newspaper.com. So like I said, the default is that when you do a clipping, it's going to be public. So unless you change it and you uncheck that box, it will appear on this page. And it's basically right now sorting them from the most recent added. So we have someone who's clipped something 2 minutes ago, and you can keep scrolling down and seeing all the other clippings that people have done. All right, so then we're just going to go back to the homepage one more time. And so I just wanted to cover again. So we've done our search. You can even click on search. It shows you the exact same thing as we see on the homepage. But one thing I like about this is if when you click on search like this, I can actually see what my recent searches have been. I can see what we have is a search alert. So you can actually do like a notify me on certain papers, or let's see if I can show you how I might do that. Let's do Amelia Earhart again. Alert me. So let's say I have a specific term and I want to know anytime anything new, articles, papers that mention this search term are added to newspapers.com. Once you do your search, you'll notice this at the very top, there's an alert me. And I can create a search alert so that anytime this term, if something new is added, I should get an alert about it. So you'll see if we go back to the search page now, my search alert is now at the top. And you can see other things that we've added search alerts to. And then if you ever wanted to no longer receive search alerts, let's say I'm done doing my research paper or whatever for Amelia Earhart, I can say to just click the little X and that will take off that search alert. So that's a really easy way to kind of monitor that. You can also clear your searches if you don't need to keep track or don't want to. And that's basically the main aspects of newspapers.com. You can, like I said, if you want to learn more specifics, they have some tutorial videos here. It's really fun to explore different papers and try different searching. And like I said, they add new things all the time. So if you haven't found something previously, you can always go back and try searching again, and you may get lucky and find something that's been added. So, all right, we're just going to go back to the PowerPoint really quick, and we'll wrap up and we'll have some time for questions. So as always, I like to end with just inviting you to visit the South Carolina room. You don't have to schedule an appointment, but if you are coming from out of town or you have anything specific you want to look at and you know ahead of time, you can make an appointment and we'll go ahead and have everything pulled and ready for you. And that helps us if you're doing a specific research topic, or you're even if you're researching a specific family, we can go ahead and see what family files we may have or books pertaining to that surname and resources, and have them all ahead of time for you. And you can do this from our website at greenvillelibrary.org, and it is going to be under the SC room appointment requests. We also do online record requests. So if you're unable to come and visit the South Carolina room in person to look at our microfilm or look at our records, you can do an online record request, and we can do some remote searches for you. And so that's on our webpage as well. And we have a list of any associated fees for those and what we can actually do remotely for you. And then we also, of course, if you visit, we'd love to show you our maps, our vertical files, which include newspaper articles, family files, as I mentioned, biographical files. We have photographs. You can view our digital collection of photos online on our website, and we have a microfilm in the room. So please stop by if you haven't already. We'd love to show you all the resources that we have. Okay, so now I just wanted to take a little bit of time to do the Q&A portion and see if anybody had any questions. Feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to ask it, or if you'd like to type it in the chat, that's fine too. And we'll go ahead and take a look and see what we have. All right. And once again, okay, Teresa, you can go ahead. If you want to unmute, if you have a question.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
The video kept going out and I had to keep leaving the meeting and coming back in. So
Oh, no.
could you review how to connect to your Ancestry and why that's a good idea?
Yes. So let me go back.
How do I get back to that?
Yes. So you're talking about the feature where you can save from newspapers.com to your Ancestry tree.
Yes.
Okay. So let me go back to my search, and we will pull up. Let's go ahead and I'll just do Amelia Earhart again. And we'll just click one as an example to show. Okay. All right, so when you're in this screen here and you found an article that you want to clip or save to Ancestry, you can do it a couple ways. At the top, if you see that green Save to Ancestry button.
Where?
You see?
Oh, okay, there we go. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll click on that. What it's going to ask you to do first is kind of isolate what article you're wanting to share to Ancestry or save to Ancestry. And then once you have that, you can add details about it if you want. You don't have to do that, but you could just add a couple of details. And then you just click on Save to Ancestry. It's then going to ask you to sign in with your Ancestry account. And then once you sign
Okay.
in, it should go, like I said, I was having a little bit of issues yesterday for some reason. Once I signed into my Ancestry account, it was taking it a little bit of time to load the next piece. So hopefully that's resolved. If not, just keep trying it because it has worked in the past, but you just need to sign in with your account there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's see. Do we have any, let's see. Oh, here's a general question that we have in the chat, and it has to do with about is there a mask requirement at the library right now? And I can answer that. It is up to you if you'd like to wear a mask or not. It's not required. So you can, if you'd like, you can still wear one. And then let's see if I make sure I didn't miss anything else in the chat. And like if you have the handout here, it shows you if you ever need to refer back all the steps to get to the newspapers.com, including, you know, if you're at home, you should see the enter your library card and PIN info. And then at the bottom here, kind of just review some of those basic tools that we went over.
How do you access that? I couldn't access it before when I tried.
Oh, the handout?
Yeah.
We can add it again. If you came back in, a lot of times we'll delete the previous things in the chat. So let me go ahead and share that again.
Do you have to sign into the documents?
No, you should be able to see it without signing in. Let me send it again.
Because when I went into it, it wanted me to sign in. So
let me
yeah, it says sign in on the bottom.
Okay, I've got it set to anyone can view it without signing in. If you're having issues,
It won't let me.
if you want to like email our scroominfo@greenvillelibrary.org, I can send you a copy via email if you still can't access it. I'll put that
Yeah, it wouldn't let
in
me.
the chat.
Okay, where am I supposed? Oh gosh.
scroominfo@greenvillelibrary.org. I just put that in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if anybody's having issues getting the handout, or if you have any follow-up question that you want to ask via email, you can email us at that email right there that I put in the chat, and we will get back to you.
Okay, the other question real quick. You
Sure.
said we can access the library version from home.
Yes.
And how do we do that?
Yes. So can you see the handout right here on my screen? Can you see my
Let me
screen? Where it says accessing newspapers?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So the basic step, the first thing you need to do is you need to be on greenvillelibrary.org, which is our website.
Okay.
And then you'll need to navigate to our learning and research tab.
I gotcha.
And
Okay.
then you'll see the genealogy section over here on the right, and then it'll say research your family tree at the bottom of that section. So you click on research your family tree, it'll give you a list of all of our databases for genealogy, and then you just go down to newspapers.com. And once you click on that, when you're at home, you should see this come up or something very similar to it. And you just put your library card and your PIN number.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other genealogy databases. You can do that the same process. Fold3 is for military records, and you can access that one from home as well. And Heritage Quest we'll be talking about in a couple months. You can access that one, and I'll be doing a class on that in a little bit.
You said it's called what? Heritage
Quest.
I haven't heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah. So there's several that you can get from home.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to access them from home, and you don't even have to leave your house. All right, do we have any other questions before we kind of wrap up? I don't see anything else in the chat, but like I said, if you can always email us at scroominfo@greenvillelibrary.org and we can answer your questions. We will try to reply quickly to those. We'll go back to the PowerPoint real quick, and I'll just wrap up with a couple of things here. So first of all, thank you everyone for attending this session. Hope you enjoyed and that you learned something. I did want to mention that our very next virtual genealogy event is going to be the genealogy drop-in, and that is on May 17th at 6:30 p.m. So we are doing an evening time for this one to see how that goes. Because I know in the past, some people had requested evening time. So that will be with Ashley from the South Carolina room, and she will be taking all of your questions. So if you're playing around with newspapers.com and you come across a question, you can definitely feel free to drop in at this session and she can try to answer your questions. If you have any type of like family history question that you have just been, maybe just wanting to see a staff perspective or get some help with that, you can do the genealogy drop-in and we're happy to answer questions. You're also welcome to just join and see what other questions people are asking, because that's a great way to learn as well, is just to learn what other people are researching and questions they have. And then you can register for that on our events page. You can go to greenvillelibrary.org and then /adult-virtual-events, or you can just go to our page, greenvillelibrary.org, and then select events. And then, of course, always mention, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a YouTube channel. So this will be recorded. If you'd ever like to watch it again, we'll have it on YouTube. And we have a whole genealogy and local history section of videos. If you're interested in other videos, you definitely check that out. Okay. So thank you all for attending once again, and we hope to see you next time.